How did they choose kahunas? First, you have to understand the word kahuna means an expert, a master of some area of knowledge that's important to Hawaiian culture. So there were in the old days, now it's like a title, okay? Like we would say doctor of education or doctor of physics or doctor of medicine. The kahunas had all kinds of different specialties. So there would be kahuna herbalists, there would be kahuna fishermen, there would be kahuna healers of various different kinds, there would be kahuna this and that. All the crafts of the society, the wood carvers, the shipbuilders, all of that, they had their masters, and they were organized something like guilds. Now, it was very strong family connection, but if someone outside the family showed an aptitude for a particular skill, they'd simply be adopted. Okay? They started out, of course, by paying attention to the children. And the children were always involved. There were different kinds of games that the children played, which were fun to play, but also showed what different kinds of aptitudes they had. Okay? They had psychic games of different kinds. They had strength games. They had lots of different kinds of games. So they'd watch the children, and then they'd encourage them in those things that the children were good at and the children liked. When they reached a certain age, they'd be given to, as an apprentice, to the kahuna of a particular craft. Let's call it a craft guild to make it simple. Okay? It was called a papa kahuna. That doesn't mean daddy kahuna. It means an organization, a guild. Okay? So, and then they'd be turned over to them, and then they'd be trained as an apprentice until gradually they were able to be masters themselves if they ever got that far. So they were picked, like I said, according to aptitude, and although it was strong family orientation, you got to remember they had an extended family. It was not a nuclear family like we're used to very much today. It was a big extended family. And so lots and lots of uncles and aunts and cousins and grandparents of all kinds. And not just two, okay? So they'd be handed off to someone who had that skill, or if they had an aptitude and there was no one in the family who had it, they'd send it to someone else, and with a request to adopt the child so that they could learn that skill. That's how they did it.
Did the children declare what they felt their strength was, or did the family guide them?
Well, it was always willingly. Nobody was indentured. Nobody was forced to go into something that they didn't want to do because they wouldn't do a good job of it. In Hawaiian culture, effectiveness is the measure of truth. It was a very important thing. Okay? There's a proverb that says you can tell the expert by the altar he builds, which means that you can tell whether he's an expert by whether he produces like an expert. Okay? So there was no point forcing somebody into something who was going to do bad work. It was always a willing thing. If they didn't want to do it, that was fine. You could always go out and work in the taro patch.
Were you adopted?
I was adopted.
Do you have age?
Yes, there's no age limit. I had a bit of previous experience that helped me a lot. I had trained with my father sort of officially for 3 years. And then I was adopted at the age of 18 by the Kahili family, actually by the head of the family, Joseph Kahili, who became my grandfather. He was my father's Hawaiian father, and he adopted me as his grandson. So that's my lineage.